Welcome to Blinkity Bloop. I'm Nick Padula.
I'm Drew D'Amelia.
And just to be clear, for those of you that might be confused, this is the podcast Blinkity Bloop, not to be mixed up with the band Blinkity Bloop. Mm-hmm. We are in both, but they both involve very different things. In the band, we perform music. In this podcast, we review new releases of films.
Yeah, and also, they both have the same name.
Right. That goes without saying.
Also, one of them currently has a Facebook and Twitter. That would be the podcast. So if you see a Blinkity Bloop and you see that it is social media, then you can know that it's not the important one, the band, it's the other important one, the podcast. But the band is still very important. And, you know, it's starting to feel like this contest that no one's submitting to where we need someone to help us set up a Facebook and Twitter. And now rehearsals are getting canceled.
It's a lot to deal with. The social media manager thing, I thought people would swarm that and we'd have a social media manager within days, but this has just been a bust, it feels like.
Yeah, it's crazy. I thought that we were going to be able to have rehearsal, but instead we had to cancel it to see a movie.
Yeah, I would have liked to work on a few of those songs, but this technically takes it takes priority for the recording studio.
We wouldn't have had to see the movie at that time if you didn't have a work shift the day before.
I mean, I can't tell my boss ahead of time, hey, I'm going to walk out, I'm going to throw off my apron and just throw all my work out the window just so I can stroll onto a film. Like, he wouldn't understand that. He'd be like, well, time to find another wage slave.
Oh, we basically did that with the bands. We just threw our rehearsal out the window so we could see the movie.
Yeah, but the band isn't keeping us alive and paying our bills at the moment. We'd like that eventually. We'd like that to be our careers, but right now.
The band is keeping us alive because the band is our life. And we basically commit suicide if we keep throwing rehearsals out of the window like this.
Yeah, but the band isn't paying the bills, is what I'm saying.
It's gonna pay the bills.
Eventually, but right now we need to focus on practical stuff.
Yeah. Like reviewing movies. Anyway, Rampage. Let me talk about Rampage. It was a movie about an evil corporation, and they made an experiment in space. And right off the bat, we walked into this movie maybe a minute late.
Yeah, something like
and
that.
I saw a spaceship with some chaos going on, and I went, oh, no, he must be in the wrong movie. I don't usually think that, but I genuinely thought, space? What?
It didn't have the imagery I came to expect from the trailers of Rampage I saw. I never saw in the trailers some lady floating around in a space station, so I thought, like, oh, I guess this is Gravity 2 starring Sandra Bullock.
And that was the only space part of the movie.
The rest was on Earth.
But it makes sense because there was a space accident and essentially some magic meteorites, or whatever you want to call them, crashed into Earth and created 3 monsters because they crashed in 3 different places. 2 of the monsters are really interesting. You've got this crocodile dinosaur sort of thing. And then you have this wolf that has spikes and it flies.
It was like part porcupine.
Yeah. And then you have a big old gorilla.
A white gorilla. It had white fur. That's different.
Yeah. Except, here's the thing. It's just big. Is that it? Because the other thing is, we happened to see what the monkey looked like before. And I guess we saw what the wolf looked like before, too. We saw that it was a regular wolf, if I remember that correctly. Yeah. And then we saw, oh, okay, now the wolf has spikes and it can fly. I don't think it could do that before.
It couldn't. And the alligator was just a regular alligator when it ate this space canister.
Well, here's where I have a theory. We never really saw what the alligator looked like before. We never even saw it was an alligator. All we saw is that the canister or whatever that fell out of space, all of a sudden got sucked into water. We didn't even see... I don't even think we saw a mouth. It could have been a cute little tadpole, and then it turned into that. I'm just saying, can you refute it? Is there
tadpole
evidence?
couldn't fit that giant space canister in its little tadpole mouth. I don't even know if tadpoles have mouths.
We didn't see a mouth. It didn't have to be the mouth. Maybe a whole bunch of tadpoles all brought it down and gave it to their one tadpole friend because it was a tadpole birthday.
If I was a tadpole, I'd like a big space canister as a present.
Thank you. Someone finally understands tadpole culture. We're really going places as a society.
Progress.
That's my theory. Either way, though, we saw that the gorilla was an albino gorilla before the canister came its way. So what's going on? What's its thing? Why doesn't it get to be weird and creative like the other two monsters?
I think it was because it was kind of the good guy monster, and the good guy can't have some disturbing mutation. You have to be able to root for this creature, and it's just like, if you gave it like a giant horse dick, or like human nose,
fingers.
I guess human fingers.
That'd be crazy for a gorilla to have human fingers.
It would be really weird and off-putting, and you'd be like, I don't know if I want to root for this weird mutant thing, but it was just a giant-ass gorilla, and it's just like, I can get behind that.
You just don't see gorillas with opposable thumbs. You don't really see many things with opposable thumbs.
Besides
and it'd be
people.
Real shocking on gorillas.
Yeah, like, it'd be really weird if the alligator had opposable thumbs.
They all should have had opposable thumbs. I was very upset about that. They could just all hold things. They all hold baseball bats. That would have
just
been great.
hit each other with the baseball bats.
We should explain why this gorilla was good, though, because technically the gorilla wasn't good exactly. Basically, it started off as good, and allegedly the wolf started off as good too, though we don't really know the wolf very well. And the little tadpole started off as good.
Or the alligator.
Excuse me.
Sorry, tadpole.
Thanks. But this chemical or whatever that released from the canister that transformed them, not only did it make them large and monstrous, but it made them more aggressive. And so it basically made them evil. So that was the problem, is that we are rooting for this gorilla because we know it's not really evil. It's just been made evil by this canister. But, you know, I think we should have been rooting for the wolf and the tadpole because they could have been good. We don't know. We just assumed they were bad, but, I mean, honestly, I think it's safe to assume they were good souls. We should have had a scene of the wolf being a real asshole. Just, like, punching someone in the face with its human hand.
We did have the wolf and the alligator, tadpoles, I'm sorry, both had asshole scenes, like destroying a city and eating people out of a bus.
That's when they were monsters, though. Because that's the thing, is, yeah, they're eating people, but technically that's not them. That's the chemical that's making them do that. So we don't necessarily have a right to think of them as bad guys, as bad monsters, because it's the chemical talking. It's the chemical doing all this action. But if we saw the tadpole maybe saying, I hate canisters, all you tadpole friends are jerks, then we'd go, oh, that's not a very friendly tadpole. I don't really want to root for that tadpole. And then when we saw it become a giant monster and start eating people, we'd go, I know that's the chemical talking, but you're also not very friendly, so I'm giving you an F for I hope you die. And, you know, that could happen with the wolf, too. It could even be the same scene where they're at a birthday party and the wolf goes, lame present. We go, man, these are not very grateful birthday people today. I'm just saying.
I guess anything's possible if...
I think it's a reasonable complaint.
It could have been cut out in the writer's room.
That's true. That's true.
They could have had the birthday scene all set up, and the director's like, I don't know, I just want more loud smashing and explosions, and this birthday scene just really doesn't add to what I'm going for visually.
Well, you know, rule of threes, you also could have given the gorilla a birthday, and you could have seen the contrast where the gorilla is really happy about the birthday gift.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, missed opportunities.
I suppose so.
But, yes, we're supposed to assume that the tadpole and the wolf are bad, and so when they're monsters, they're bad. Alright, fine, whatever. And the gorilla is good, but being made to act bad. And we'll circle back to that later. But basically, the evil corporation has this plan, and they're thinking, let's capture the monsters. we got this satellite in our building in Chicago. And what we're going to do is turn on the satellite. And the way these monsters are designed is that they don't like the noise coming out of the satellite. And so they try to run toward it to destroy it. And so most of the time they're just kind of running to destroy the satellite. And then they get into the city and they go to destroy the satellite. And here's what I'm wondering, buddy. How are they going to capture them? Did they explain that?
They did explain, I think. They mentioned a chill pill, which I thought was funny. I'm like, oh, it's like a joke. It's a phrase people use. But no, they literally had a chemical they called a chill pill that they'd inject into the monster to make it more calm and bring it down to its less aggressive state. And when they're less aggressive, that would allow people to capture them.
Okay. So, did they have the chill pill?
They used it on the gorilla. That's how he
Well, no,
helped.
not the bad guys. The heroes wound up doing that.
Because they broke into the building and stole the chill pill
But
chemical.
did the bad guys already... Basically, the chill pill chemical was stored away. It didn't look like the bad guys were planning on using it.
They weren't ready, I guess. They were getting killed off.
But they were packing their bags as the monsters were just about to approach, and did they just go, we have time.
We have a few
minutes.
They probably realized, like, this probably isn't going to work unless one of us gets eaten by a monster while holding the chill pill chemical, which is exactly what happened.
I'm not even convinced that was even their goal. Did they talk about, let's use the chill pill on the monsters?
They brought it up, I think, to appease government people who were investigating them. They were like, hey, we're not monsters. We have a backup plan. We have an antidote to this. But I don't think they really wanted to cure the monsters.
Yeah, it's just confusing to me. I don't understand how they thought that was going to work. You have these 3 giant animals attacking your building and go, okay, now's the perfect time. Throw the net.
Yeah, it wasn't very well thought out on their part.
And listen, I get that the gorilla's good guy, whatever. Here's a problem, though. You brought up how we get to see the wolf and the tadpole monsters. Actually, mostly the wolf. We don't really see the tadpole monster do too much damage until the very end.
Yeah.
But the wolf is going around eating people. Mm-hmm. It's real spooky, real intense.
There was one intense scene in a forest where there was a military unit trained to, like, kill it and capture its body and bring it back to the Project Rampage people, which was a really dumb code name for the company. Anyway, they were going through this spooky forest, and all of a sudden this thing charges by, giant fucking thing, and eats like 3 troops, and it's just like, oh shit! And it was a really tense, freaky moment. It felt like something out of a horror movie. It was one of the best scenes, I think, in the movie.
Yeah, and it was fun, admittedly, when the monsters were monstering around. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, actually, let's just jump into this. The monsters didn't seem to attack people. They seemed to only attack when they were being instigated.
No, because it showed one scene where the wolf was eating innocent civilians out of a bus.
Was it eating people, though, or was it just digging around?
It was eating. Why would it dig around?
I don't know. Maybe there was a cookie in the bus. It just wanted the cookie. You don't know.
I'm pretty sure I saw it scarfing down people.
Well, that's pretty cool then. Okay, so that's fair. That's fair. I don't think there was enough of it, though.
No.
Because, really, most of the movie... there are a couple good scenes, but they spend most of the movie just running to get to Chicago.
Yeah.
They, referring to the 3 monsters. And then they get to Chicago and they punch the satellite. And then they just kind of brawl for a little bit, which is weird because I'm thinking, all right, well, they destroyed the satellite, so now what? I mean, like, what if after that they just go, all right, see ya. And they just leave. Like, maybe they didn't have to fight. If they just waited 10 seconds, maybe they were just going to go their separate ways. But no, they had to go, oh, we have to stop these monsters still. Well, maybe you didn't.
We never know. We never found out if they would have just became peaceful after they destroyed the annoying thing.
Yeah. Should also mention that Dwayne Johnson is in this.
Yep. Mr. The Rock.
Yep, he plays Monkey's best buddy.
Who was also hunting poachers in Africa at one point, which was interesting because it shows that he hates people and loves animals because animals won't stab him in the back. And he was just a big badass, but he was working in an animal sanctuary, which is how he met the albino gorilla.
It's weird because he clearly enjoyed the company of people.
Yeah.
They were trying to say, you don't like people, but he was so charismatic around every single human being he ran into.
Even the people he didn't like, he joked with them.
I didn't buy it for a second. Dwayne just seemed like, hey, you want to come to my house for some tea later? With everyone. And then he goes, sorry, I gotta go home to my dogs. You know how I don't like humans. Like, what?
Maybe it's just the actor being too charismatic and friendly and he can't tone it down for a film.
Maybe. Probably. Do you know what I read that was interesting? So Dwayne Johnson apparently is all about having movies where it makes people happy at the end.
Okay.
And originally in this movie, the character of the gorilla, his best buddy forever, was going to die.
Right. It kind of seemed like that was set up after the gorilla was stabbed by a giant fucking, piece of debris.
Yeah. But basically, Dwayne Johnson said to the director and the producer and all the important people, no, that can't happen. I don't want something sad to happen in this movie. And he basically threatened to quit if they didn't change the ending. And his reasoning was, I have a relationship with my audience, and when they're going to see one of my movies, they're going to walk out happy. I don't want a sad thing. We have that in real life. I'm like, we also have happy things in real life.
Yeah.
And then he also said, this is a movie. We're not making Saving Private Ryan.
That is a movie also, though.
Yeah. So
did he think Saving Private Ryan was a direct documentary and it was all live footage?
I don't know. I understand where he's coming from, but it's like, I almost think it would have been a better ending if the monkey died. Not that I cared too much about anything going on in this. Right. But I wouldn't have minded too much. I guess that's the thing. There was a lot of stupid stuff in the movie, and I'm sure we'll explain some of it. But ultimately, it was all interesting enough where I was still able to get into it. So, I don't know. For me, it was just enough going on where it was entertaining for a one-time viewing.
Yeah.
And then that's about it. But there wasn't enough going on with characterization where I was going to go, oh no, the monkey died. This is just too bad.
This is like that part in Harry Potter where Harry Potter died.
That was good. That was a good reference.
Where he was beheaded by a cat wielding a sword.
Hey, what do you think? Was there enough Rampage in the movie Rampage?
There was a good amount of talking moments, but I think you gotta spread out the rampaging. It can't just be 105 minutes of pure rampage. The audience needs a break now and then to, recover from all that destruction.
Yeah, but there were occasional moments of Rampage. I don't know if it was enough Rampage, though.
Maybe. Maybe there could have been more.
What I would have liked to see is I would have liked to see a bunch of creative monsters. Not just two. A bunch of them. Maybe we could finally give the gorilla something interesting to do. Make him juggle something. And he has a big horn coming out of his ass. I don't know. Yeah, it'd be better than what we have. And just a whole bunch of monsters, and they're just going around killing everyone the whole time. And we can take breaks and just, I don't know, instead of having scenes that slow things down, we just say, quick intermission, 5 minutes. Just go take a pee-pee. And then people come back. And there's total chaos again for another 20 minutes. And then just, okay, another 5 minutes. Grab some popcorn. Local concessions. Then you come back and you just watch people die the whole time. I don't know. I think that there is a lot of potential to be mined out of some crazy monsters just killing everyone.
But you need to see the human side of it, too.
But do you? I mean, I honestly might be able to be entertained by just constant destruction of humanity and going to the bathroom.
That's a good point. I never thought of that.
I'm just saying. Hey, also, can we talk about the ending a little bit and how it was a little too easy, I think? Here's what I'm referring to, okay? Remember the bad lady that was in the corporation? Mm-hmm. Basically, her henchman was holding a gun.
Yeah.
Say, hey, Dwayne, get away from the chill pill. Stop that, you. Mm-hmm. And she took the gun from the henchman and actually fired it immediately. And I went, wow, that's awesome. She didn't say anything. She didn't negotiate. She just shot him right in the stomach area.
Yeah.
Great. And then she walked away and left him for dead. Mm-hmm. And then when we see him again, he doesn't even look like he's remotely in pain. And his sidekick character is going, oh, I thought you were dead. Oh no, the bullet missed my vital organs. I'm fine. And the rest of the movie, he's just kind of holding his hand over it, and there's barely any blood. I'm like, dude, aren't those where the intestines are? I'm not smart enough to know if it's possible to get shot there, and it's mostly fine. Oh, I just have a boo-boo. It's a little boo-boo.
It would definitely affect him more than him just putting his hand on his side, just being like, it stings a little.
I almost, like, why even have a gun? Why even shoot him? It basically did nothing.
They should have just, like, kneecapped him. They should have just shot him in his knees, and then he wouldn't be able to do all this action stuff. He'd just stay in the building as it collapsed.
Honestly, this is what I wonder. Why even have bad guys? Think about it. What if there were just strange meteorites that crashed into Earth and turned 3 animals into monsters, and the monsters were destroying a city? It'd make more sense.
Yeah.
Than having them all just come from different places to go punch a satellite. The bad guys were basically useless.
Well, the bad guys created the monsters in the first place, technically.
They didn't have to, though.
Yeah.
Like that, but yes, you're right. That's technically the only thing they really served.
Right.
Also, before I forget, in terms of how that it was too easy for them at the end, so they have to break into the bad guys' building, the heroes do, and unfortunately, the FBI swept the whole building. Because the bad guys, I don't know, tipped off the FBI somehow or something they did. But the FBI, for some reason, didn't confiscate this very high-tech looking device that was called a thermometer, but looked very much like a complex tablet that was sitting in the refrigerator. And one of the good guys goes, the FBI wouldn't have thought to confiscate this thermometer. And I'm going, yeah, they would have. Like, are you kidding me?
This is the FBI. They'd confiscate everything.
And they just look at the thermometer and beep boop a little bit and go, aha, they're in here. Oh no, the door's locked. How are we going to get the chill pill? And Dwayne just kicks the door.
Yeah.
And it just falls down and I go, no.
They would have much more solid glass. Not even glass. It would be a see-through material that you can't just break.
And so they go into this room, and there's so much stuff. And the sidekick goes, okay, so we have to find something labeled with these letters. Dwayne just kind of looks around for a little bit and goes, it's right here. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And then immediately after that is when he got shot. And listen, do you want to talk about the bad guy getting eaten, since you alluded to it before?
Yeah, it was, up to this point, we see the tadpole monster eating people and doing bad murder things, and we see the wolf brutally ripping up soldiers and civilians alike. The gorilla, however, smashes some buildings, smashes some cars, but I don't think we see it really take a life, and we especially don't see it consume a living human being. However, in the last few scenes, we see the evil lady preparing to make her escape in a helicopter, and the gorilla smashes that, and she's running for her life, and the main girl hands her the chill pill, and she's like, I'm gonna feed the monster to the gorilla. And that
I get it. She's saying that the real monster is the lady, and not
the giant monster.
That probably killed several things.
Yeah. And so she hands the lady the chill pill, and she's like, what am I gonna do with this? And the gorilla just grabs her conveniently. She could have it could have just as easily grabbed the main girl or Dwayne and eat them.
Just eats the heroes instead.
And the main bad guy's like, oh, that worked out. And she just strolls away.
And then they throw the net, and it works.
Gotcha.
The girl like, kick it out. That works great.
He conveniently grabs the person holding the one thing that'll turn him into a good gorilla, and then he just lifts her over his head and opens his mouth and then drops her, and she goes in slow motion falling and goes, oh shit. And it was supposed to be a funny moment, and I heard people in the audience laughing, but I just kind of put my head in my hands because I'm like, gorillas don't eat people.
Well, he was a monster gorilla.
Okay, I guess maybe then. But still, I was at a loss because it just came across as dumb.
Well, let me remind you why it came across as dumb. It's because the other monsters, the tadpole and wolf monsters, we saw them eating people before.
Yeah.
And we thought, okay, they're bad guys. And the writers kind of had some problems here because while the gorilla was technically, a bad monster, he was good on the inside, kind of.
Yeah.
Though allegedly so were the wolf and the tadpole.
Right.
But anyway, the audience wasn't supposed to turn against the gorilla too much. So they never really showed too much of the gorilla doing anything, and you never really saw it kill anyone or eat anything.
Right.
You just kind of saw people getting thrown and go, oh, hope they're okay. But yeah, then all of a sudden, you see the gorilla gobble up this bad guy, and it's confusing. It's honestly as shocking as if Dwayne Johnson just started eating the bad guy instead. Like, Dwayne Johnson, it's time for my meal, and pulls out his special silverware and just starts...
And a bib.
just starts cutting it. Oh, shit!
And her organs are coming out like, stop! And he's just shoveling her intestines into his mouth like spaghetti.
She keeps having to take breaths because she can't finish saying shit because he eats so slowly. Because he doesn't have a big mouth, so it would take him a while.
He couldn't just eat her whole. He couldn't unhinge his jaw like a snake and be like, oh.
And then the gorilla's just waiting there patiently.
And he's just like, that's my old friend there, cannibalizing another human.
It would have been great. But seriously, it's just as shocking because you're just not expecting the gorilla, despite it being an aggressive gorilla, you're not expecting it to suddenly gobble up this human.
And it was just interesting. It could have eaten anyone else because it doesn't know the difference between good and evil. So it would have made just as much sense if he ate the good guys. Yeah. Because it's not like he could differentiate, like, this woman here has ruined millions of lives, and I am doing a justice to this world by eating her entire body.
Here's the other thing. There's something we've been leaving out.
Yep.
The gorilla is named George.
Yeah.
There's a reason I'm pointing that out. It's because I had a favorite part in the Rampage trailer I saw where Dwayne Johnson, he was real agitated, and he turned to someone and he said, "Where's George?"
Right.
And I was so excited for that to happen in this movie. I hyped it up so much in my head. I can't wait for "Where's George?" And I kept waiting for the line. Sometimes he'd say something close, like, "There's George." I go, shit.
So close.
Sometimes he'd just go, "George." And, there are a lot of lines, a lot of instances where Dwayne Johnson would exclaim something about George. But it never got to the point where he said, "Where's George?" I remember I was so excited while watching this that I would just kind of insert that line into various parts in the movie. Like the part where George was on a plane and Dwayne was there.
He was within eye shot of George.
And I would go, "Where's George?" Despite the fact George was right in front of him.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't even care. At least he would have said it.
Yeah.
So there's my proposal. Okay, because you were saying how you can't just have a crazy rampage. You need to have some moments to breathe and focus on humanity.
Right.
So in my pitch for what Rampage actually should be, you have a bunch of creative monsters, and they're killing everybody.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of cut to this area of the world where nothing's happening for some reason. You just kind of see Dwayne Johnson, and he's looking real agitated. He's sitting on a park bench or something. And somebody walks by and sees that he's kind of just shaking. And it's a nice little old man. And the little old man goes, "What ails you, my boy?" And Dwayne Johnson grabs him by the collar and goes, "Where's George?" Smash cut back to 20 more minutes of monsters killing everybody. Dwayne Johnson's in a waiting room. He's got a magazine, but he's just crumpling it. He's so upset about something. He's called up. I say, "Hi, can I help you?" He punches through the glass, grabs the collar of the attendant, and goes, "Where's George?" 30 more minutes of monsters killing everybody. Credits.
You know what? That sounds pretty solid. And he'd have a Sherlock Holmes outfit, like the deerstalker cap, and he'd have a magnifying glass looking on the ground like, a clue.
We can just call the movie "Where's George?" And George doesn't even need to be in the movie.
George doesn't need to be the monster. George could be someone else we never see.
It's never explained who George is, why he's looking for George, and why he and all the people around him are somehow unaffected by this horrible tragedy. That is the true Rampage. That's what we should have had.
We can help make that in 7 years when there's an inevitable reboot.
Maybe. And by the way, tell me, is Rampage an original movie?
Well, Drew, I can tell you for a fact that it is an adaptation of a video game. And anyone who is familiar with video games knows that video games have a shaky history, to say the least, of being adapted into film.
That's true.
Previous video game adaptations, such as Silent Hill, such as
Les Miserables.
Les Miserables. I love that game on the Nintendo 64.
It is pretty memorable.
Anyways, there's been a lot of examples. Doom, which The Rock was also in, and they've all been very bad. And recently, for some reason, 2 video game adaptations in the past, month have actually been way better critics-wise than previous films.
I mean, you got Tomb Raider, which we reviewed, and at the time, we called it the best reviewed video game movie of all time, because it was.
Yep.
But Rampage, boy, it came in, and it got a 51%, and Tomb Raider was at 50%. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've got a brand new best video game adaptation of all time!
It gets the award!
We did it!
There's some great progress going on lately,
Wow.
and I'm hoping one day in the near future a video game adaptation can win an Oscar. I'm hoping it'll be for the Super Mario Bros. Film, starring Jonah Hill as Mario.
You've thought about this a lot.
And Bradley Cooper as Luigi.
Bradley Cooper? I don't know. What about Big Bang Theory boy?
Oof.
As Luigi.
Leave those fuckers.
I don't know. Jonah Hill, and I don't even know his name.
Jonah Hill should be Wario.
That could be good.
Yeah. Maybe, I'd say...
Bryan Cranston as Mario.
And Aaron Paul as Luigi. Just rewrite the Breaking Bad pair.
That could work.
They already have such great chemistry. Just give them Italian accents and plumber costumes.
It wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah.
We're getting carried away.
Sorry. I got derailed.
The point is, it looks like the future is bright for video game adaptations now that we finally have a 51% critically approved movie on Rotten Tomatoes based on a video game.
Yep.
Wow. Good job, everyone involved. Thing is, I don't ever need to see Rampage again, but I will admit, I mean, an hour passed and it barely felt like an hour, so despite things being a little goofy, not making sense here and there, it was a fun ride.
It was more entertaining than I expected. I was expecting it to be a real fucking slog, like, oh, Jesus, but I was pretty entertained.
Yeah. The thing is, though, this video game, from what you told me, it is from the perspective of the monsters.
Right.
And tell me, were the monsters in this movie the same as the monsters in the video game?
Well, in the video game, you had 3 monsters, like in this, and the the gorilla was named George in the game, and the wolf was named...
Chester.
No. I forgot the name.
Jacob.
But I remember the lizard monster, or the tadpole monster. In the video game, it was more of like a Godzilla creature. It was named Lizzie, because they had to throw a girl monster in there, I guess.
Could the wolf fly in the video game?
No, it was basically a cartoon wolf with like pecs and stuff.
Don't you have pictures?
That was walking on its hind legs.
You were going to show me?
Yeah, let me pull that up for you.
We'll show the listeners too, so they can see.
You can see it if you use your imagination or look up the Rampage game yourself.
Oh, this is perfect. Wow, really?
Yep.
That's way more cartoony than I thought it'd be.
It was a very cartoony game. There was a lot of slapstick comedy. When you punched a building, you see like a guy taking a shower, and he's like, la 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 la, and you eat him. And then you punch another window and see another person doing something else, like two people kissing, and you eat both of them. And when you eat people, you regain health, so you got to do that while tanks are trying to blow you up and stuff.
Yeah, really, honestly, it just looks like a giant gorilla, a giant wolf, and a giant iguana, basically.
And the wolf has blue fur, which is interesting.
But
there's one more picture I want to show you.
They're all mostly normal, though. Yeah. So I'm fine if the movie wanted to make them creative, but why not do it with George? And I get, because he's a good guy, we don't want him to be too scary, but... I don't know, you could have made him just glitter, make him fabulous.
Yeah.
You can make him change in a fantastic way. Like, what if he just...
turned into a giant Lady Gaga?
Had a nice rainbow coat or something.
That works, too.
He just became a rainbow gorilla. Well, yeah, there we go. There they are in action, truly rampaging.
Yep.
I wish they rampaged more in the movie.
True.
I will say, though, my favorite part in the end credits... Actually, before the end credits, basically the movie ended. It was the last shot. It was panning out. And I remember I turned to you and said, truly, that was a rampage. As soon as I said the word rampage, the title Rampage popped up on the screen at the exact same time, and it was amazing.
It was an eerie coincidence. It's like they knew.
It almost made up for the fact that I watched that movie with a really bad hangover, which was a horrible idea.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, if I had the movie that I had wanted, that would have been brutal.
Lots of explosions and shit.
Yeah.
Not good for someone who easily gets headaches and stuff.
I don't easily get headaches.
Well, hangovers are a perpetual headache.
Anyway, here's the problem with Rampage.
Yep.
Is that the fun in the video game is that you get to play as a monster and you're eating people. Wow, cool. It's kind of a fun anarchist game. Mm-hmm. But then in the movie, it just does a 180 where, oh no, people are being eaten and the monsters are bad guys. We have to stop them with our friend Dwayne. And I'm going, what? I get why they adapted it and completely changed it because they just wanted a property.
Right.
So there'd be a little extra value. But would fans of the game want this movie at all? Because it doesn't... I mean, there's rampaging technically.
Yeah.
But it's not the same feeling. It's not the same atmosphere where it's just sort of playful fun and you're enjoying people getting smashed. I mean, I guess you're kind of enjoying people getting smashed in this movie because it's sort of fun, but ultimately, it's something you're rooting against.
Yeah.
You have heroes trying to stop it from happening. And in my version of Rampage, you would enjoy it.
Is that the one where they all go to the birthday parties?
No, that's a real theory for the movie Rampage.
Oh, okay.
My version of Rampage is a real, actual rampage. Just lots of creative monsters. I've said this.
Right,
Jeez.
you have. Sorry, my bad. But speaking of the video game, there was a weird scene in this where we see the bad guy's lair and they say, like, this is Project Rampage. And then slightly out of focus in the background, you see the arcade cabinet of the original Rampage game and then the sequel Rampage World Tour right next to it. Two Rampage games right next to each other.
I didn't realize both of them were there.
Yeah, and it was just really fucking weird because you're like, wait a minute. The game exists in this universe, and they happen to have monsters exactly like the monsters in the video game. Wouldn't that occur to the bad guys? Like, hey, this is a lot like that game I put a quarter in earlier.
But then again, they changed the game so much that maybe they wouldn't have even noticed.
That's true.
But it's so distracting, because the bad guy is They don't have a fun work environment, so why if you're gonna put the games anywhere, why not put it in the animal conservatory or something? Why would you put it in the bad guy's office? Am I supposed to believe they're playing video games?
We're very evil. I'm gonna punch you. Wee.
Exactly. No, seriously.
It just felt it took you out of the moment, because it'd be like if Harry Potter was locked in his closet by his abusive guardians, and he sees a little book sitting there, and he's like, well, I better read something to pass the time. And he's like, oh boy, the Half-Blood Prince. It just doesn't make any sense.
Are you in the mood for Harry Potter? You keep referencing Harry Potter.
It's just a cultural thing that a lot of people get.
Yeah, like Rampage.
Yeah. It's people in foreign countries look at pictures of Rampage and just know.
Yeah,
they
it's
just
going
know.
down in history.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I wouldn't have the video games show up in my version of Rampage.
Right.
That'd just be too confusing for my very good version of the movie.
Exactly.
My version of the movie would make my hangover much worse, though. Even worse than this did. You know what movie would be great for hangovers, though?
What?
A Quiet Place.
It did have some loud moments, though, and there were some loud violins and music and things.
Well, thanks for immediately refuting my point. Despite the fact there are so many quiet moments in this movie, you just had to shut me down immediately like that.
I just like being devil's advocate. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of quiet in this movie.
Yeah, there is.
Because it's a movie where you can't make noise or you die.
Yep.
And you got a family that has a deaf kid, so they do sign language, and that's how they've survived for a while.
Right. Mostly survived. Their youngest son is playing with a little rocket ship toy, and it makes a noise in the middle of the woods, and then you see this giant horrifying creature of indistinguishable origin come out of the woods and basically smush him. You don't see the kid get smushed and become a smear on the sidewalk, but it's implied that that's what happens.
Yeah, it's basically an ear creature. It's got a big old ear.
So yeah, they were ear monsters because their whole thing was their only sense that functioned was hearing, and when they heard like a living thing, even little raccoons, they instantly flew to it and smashed it. Like you see these little raccoons going along a cornfield like
yeah, basically. I mean, you can make very tiny noises, but there's a certain decibel where
it's a little too loud.
It's bad.
And they get you.
Yeah. And they were cool designs. Like, they were just giant cartoon ears that had gloved hands and
big,
funny
goofy
little
feet.
string legs. Yeah, it was great. It was really creative.
It was weird
a lot.
how the ear monster went up to the young son who was making too much noise and just shanked the kid to death, like, kuh, kuh, kuh.
Yeah, it just had knives, just regular knives, and they just stabbed people and then just walked away.
And they're just, and like every time they walk away, like happy Walt Disney music comes in, like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. And they're like 1930s cartoons, but in a three-dimensional world.
At the end, all the ears came together and did a fun little dance. It was great. The actual design of the monsters was pretty enjoyable.
Pretty disturbing
creepy.
And weird.
They showed the monsters more than I thought they would, which I appreciate.
I thought they were going to be mostly off-screen, but they really got up in your face sometimes.
Yeah. And here's the thing. It's a great idea overall, because the idea that you have to be quiet, it forces the audience to participate. And that's genius. There aren't many instances where the audience is basically forced to participate in the movie, because you have to be quiet yourself, basically. If you make noise, it kind of ruins the illusion of the movie you're watching.
Yeah.
Which is great. It also makes you look at the world in a different way. Like, right now, there could be a vase on a high shelf, and I'd go, oh, that's a vase on a high shelf. That's a very nice vase. But in this movie, you're thinking, if that falls off the shelf, that's really bad. So you're looking at this vase and feeling this tension, which is really cool. It's just a very good idea that it gives me hope, the fact that it had never really happened before that I know of, and now we have it. And I love the creative application of quiet, because like, you've come home and maybe you don't want to wake people up, so you're quietly going up the stairs. And there are certain things that you're used to being quiet while doing, But there are a lot of things that you wouldn't think be quiet during. Like if I told you, hey, Nick, make me a hamburger. Quietly. It's a little weird. Hey, Nick, would you like to go swimming? Quietly. Hey, Nick, have sex with me.
What?
Sorry, what? But yeah, I wish they pushed that more because they really reached the apex. I think they had a pregnancy. It's like, give birth quietly.
And if you know pregnancy, you know that's not really a thing that you can do.
Yeah, and it was such a great scene. I really think it's going to wind up being iconic. It's definitely the standout scene in the movie, I think. But there weren't really too many other instances of something that felt that creative, or they had to be quiet in this unique situation that you wouldn't think about. Like, play baseball quietly. There just wasn't really much of that if you think about it. And here's the thing. If you have anything nice left to say about this movie, you should get it out now, because I'm about to go into my grievances.
Uh-oh, not the grievances.
Yes, it's time for the grievances.
All right, well, before we get to the grievances, let me just say that it was great that they cast an actual deaf girl to play a deaf character, because there needs to be more films that involve disabilities and casting disabled actors to play those parts and not give them to a guy who's like, give him to fucking Jared Leto, who's like, I'm deaf.
Did he play a deaf person?
No, but he played a trans person and he wasn't trans, so it's like the same, it's a similar.
Yeah.
No, fuck. No, that's not a similar thing because trans people aren't disabled. Fuck.
He also played a clown, and he's not a clown.
Exactly. And he also doesn't have tattoos.
That's true. I'm mad at all actors because they aren't what they say they are.
Unless they play actors.
I think we all get the point you're making, though.
Yeah.
That it's good having deaf people get roles.
And all the performances are very solid, especially from the monsters.
Yeah.
They're very well cast.
Highlight.
Yep.
Highlight of the movie.
And even though John Krasinski and Emily Blunt are married in real life, not knowing that as I walked into it, I'm like, wow, it's like they're married in real life. That's such good chemistry.
It was.
It just makes me think Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul are probably married. That's why they have such good chemistry in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that's how it works. If you have good chemistry,
you're married.
Yeah. So see you at home, honey.
You bet, babe.
Any more nice things, Nick? The grievances are coming.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. It's great that they had a deaf girl in this.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Why didn't they just whisper? Because here's the thing. You can't be too loud. There's a certain decibel that you hit and then you're dead. But you could probably communicate this way and it'd be fine. Because I heard their feet walking on sand, and that was roughly... Maybe it sounded like that, and that was fine. And I would argue that my whispering is even quieter.
Yeah.
So I get that it made it more unique.
They did
that they were doing sign language. They really didn't whisper that much. Not in the house.
Yeah, it was mostly sign language.
Yeah. They should have just established that whispering doesn't work. But then if they established that, I'd go, well, why don't the footsteps work? I think the problem is this very cool universe they're setting up imposes a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And I'm mostly willing to kind of forgive the problems, but there are a lot of them. Like, for instance, they had a scene where they went, hey, there's a waterfall right here, and because of this really loud sound, you can scream, but the monsters aren't going to hear it because the waterfall is louder. And the monsters, the way their ears work, they focus on the louder sound. And I went, yes, that's great. Why don't you live near the waterfall?
We already built the house over here.
Yes, also in their house, they have a special room that they don't go in until the third part of the movie, the last third. And it's basically just a basement with a hole in the ceiling, and they put a mattress over it. And they start talking for the first time and go, the monsters can't hear us because we're in the special mattress basement place. And I'm like... Why aren't you living in there?
Yeah, they could have solved a lot of issues if they hung out in the magic room that is soundproofed with a mattress.
Yeah. Also, can I just point this out? There is a scene where a nail got loose on a staircase. There's a nail.
Ew.
Think about this, though. The nail, it was pointy side up.
Oh.
Why was the nail in there like that?
That's not how you normally hammer. Don't you hammer nails into things upside down? Isn't that how hammering nails works?
I didn't even think about that until recently. I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense.
I guess the builder was a bat.
There's also just the general, what if you have to sneeze? I suppose you can hold in your sneeze, but what if you just get really bad diarrhea?
That's exactly what I just thought. Yeah.
What happens? I mean, I snore, but I feel even people that don't snore, they're probably maybe breathing heavy. I haven't seen many sleeping people, unfortunately, but still, I'm just saying. Also, okay, here's an idea, right? You have the waterfall,
right?
And basically, they're implying that if there's this really loud noise that's louder than them talking, that the monsters are just going to pay attention to that loud noise, right? So, why don't they just blast a TV through some speakers, and then the monsters will go, hey, that's a loud noise, but they get used to it and go, oh, I guess there's nothing here, and then they go back to their house and they just talk.
They destroy the TV instantly, though.
They didn't destroy the waterfall.
You can't, but you can they jump
That's
at
a good
things,
point. You can't destroy the waterfall.
They jump at things they can hear, and if it's destroyable, they destroy it.
That's okay. You got me there. That's interesting. It doesn't refute my point that they could just live near the waterfall.
Right, no,
but that's true.
That would definitely be smart.
Redacted grievance.
Redacted!
Okay, I still had a problem with the old guy, though.
Oof.
So there's this scene where the dad character and one of his kids
son.
were just walking by, and all of a sudden they stop and they looked to the side of them, and there's this old fuck, and the dad and the son look down, and there's this dead person. Maybe it's his wife. I don't know. How did she die? We don't know. We have no idea what's going on.
Nope.
And then you see the old guy, and his face is tensing up, and the dad is giving the shh, don't make any noise. And I'm going, what? Why does the old guy need to make noise? Like, what? I'm so confused about what's going on. And then the old guy goes, "Rah!" And the dad has to run away with the son to make sure the monsters don't get them. And I'm going, what? What happened? I don't know. I can't even make a generous assumption about what the hell that was.
His business loan was denied.
That's right.
Did you see him apply for one?
It didn't even have to do with the dead person down there. Maybe he just had to shit his pants right in front of a dead body. Or maybe he's a real creep and he just gets off on seeing dead people, and that was him coming in his pants. But not just seeing a dead person, but also seeing a loving father shush him while he sees a dead
son
person.
is nearby. That's my fetish.
Oh! And the monsters just come over and join in.
It's like, oh, this guy's fucking into some partying.
Yeah. Hey, also.
Yep.
It turns out that the monsters can be defeated by
hearing aids.
Yeah, which basically translated to this really high-pitched frequency.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. They're ear monsters.
Yeah.
So you'd think, all right, that's intuitive. That's something you'd think of if they're ear monsters, if they use sound so much. Wouldn't that be the first thing you'd think of when trying to attack them? So why
like a dog whistle?
You'd think. We have a very smart group of humans on the planet, and at the time this movie takes place, most of them are gone and dead. But you'd think before they were gone and dead, one of the first things they'd think of is, hey, we just found out that they're very sound sensitive. Oh. What if we use a really high pitch? Did they not think of that?
They did. You see snippets of newspapers that say, the secret is sound. The monsters know sound. But you don't see them deal with that. It's just like, hey, we know it's sound. And right as the newspapers print, the monsters destroy all the newspaper factories.
It's probably a very loud newspaper factory, I would imagine.
I mean, how were they even able to type out or print the newspaper? Wouldn't the monsters just, like, hear the whirring buildings?
See, I don't know. It's ambiguous enough, or I don't know how many monsters there were at first, and it probably took them a while to kill everyone.
Yeah.
There's just people waiting around like, when am I gonna die already? I'm making all this noise! And just have maracas.
and then one of the monsters is like, sorry, I'm late. Smash!
I have been really booked lately. Just so many humans I have to kill.
So many noises to jump to. Sometimes it's just a fucking cat.
I wonder how many librarians survived.
All of them.
That's not...
This is a librarian's wet dream.
Basically.
They're like, finally, quiet. And they open a book and fart. And then a monster just jumps in and kills them. No!
Here, this isn't quite a grievance, but it's basically my last one for now.
Yeah.
I might think of more down the line. Mm-hmm. But there was a little note that basically said, guns don't work, they have armor or something. It was vaguely alluded to. So you see it and go, okay, so you can't just shoot it. But then when enough of a high frequency is emitted, the monster, it looks like its head breaks a little bit.
Its shell.
And so is that what happened? Did the armor just break off and that's how they were able to use a gun to kill it?
Yeah, it's like head armor, like peeled back, and you saw its like pink face.
Okay.
And then the mom pointed a shotgun at it and blew its fucking head off.
You think there are moments though where you see it like opening up its ear and you see this creepy ear flesh, and you'd think in moments like that, why not just shoot it in the ear? But maybe the monster's too fast or something like that. I mean, it is a very speedy monster. I think it'd do very good in a race.
They'd win most of the races.
John Krasinski, he would put up a good fight, but I just don't think he'd be as fast.
No.
Also, John Krasinski,
John Gergerberg.
he was a writer, director, actor of this, and that's good. Good boy.
Good job, Johnny.
I think this movie has a lot of problems that they just don't really bother trying to solve. Like, this pregnant lady got pregnant after she knew she lived in a world where you had to be quiet.
That wasn't well thought out.
What an awful idea. I don't care that one of your kids died and you're thinking, we want another one. Like, maybe wait.
Just have a pet rock.
Wait till the monster problem's solved, maybe.
Maybe.
But then again, if you allow that stupidity to happen, it gives you a very interesting sequence with that pregnancy.
Yeah, if everyone was smart, nothing interesting would happen.
I mean, I feel like it was probably possible to make a smart version of this movie where you have quiet being applied in interesting ways and you're not thinking, oh, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That's just not the version we got. But regardless of its problems, there's no denying it's a really unique idea.
Yeah.
And pretty good. Pretty good stuff.
Can I air my one main grievance?
Yes, please.
Grievance time with Nick. There's gonna be a musical segment in future episodes where it comes in like do-do-do-do-do-do, grievance time, yeah.
Well, that's gonna be a problem in the world of A Quiet Place. Like, we couldn't have A Quiet Place the musical.
That's true.
That'd be a real issue.
Maybe it originally was a musical and everyone on the Earth was singing, but then the monsters came to Earth and killed all the singing people, and the only family left hate musicals.
That's nice. Though I like the idea of it structured perfectly as a musical, where it has all the right beats that are leading up to, you can tell a musical number's about to happen.
Yep.
Like, maybe they're signing, like, hey, I've been working on this new project. Hey, well, let's see it. It's a song and dance number. All right, we're ready. And then the horns come in. It's like, I'm feeling very fine. The monster just comes and completely destroys them. And they're very sad. And they go to a funeral. And they're sad. And it's the mother and the father.
Would they have time for a funeral in the post-apocalypse?
Listen, I'm trying to jump
Sorry,
through my musical.
I interrupted you.
The mother and the father are very sad, and they get in a fight, and then the mother is standing over a bridge, and it's raining softly, and she looks up into the sky and goes, "My child is..."
Or the older son, who's like 12, is sitting on a rooftop looking up at the moon, and just like the music swells, and he's just like, "If only I could find my little..."
And the dad, he's having a rough time, so he goes to the bar and he's had a couple drinks and like, time to blow off some steam, and like hits the jukebox and it starts playing a crazy song, and he's like, "I'm just a country but..."
But before he gets smashed, it smashes the jukebox and then just looks at him, shakes its head disappointed, and then kills him. Just like, "I thought better of you, John Krasinski." Punch!
It'd be a great musical, though. Just
It
a
would.
musical where everything's set up to be a song and people die immediately. And then, because you've been blue-balled with not getting a musical number, that's when all the monsters get together and go, "We have killed all the humans."
Killed all the humans.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our voices aren't warmed up, so we do
Right.
sing better than that, but
We
you
do.
get the gist of it.
Yeah. But my grievance.
Yes.
My grievance was the father sacrificing his life scene. It's kind of hinted at that with that old guy, you see him yelling caused him to get killed. So John Krasinski was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be like that stupid ass old guy and save my children from getting smashed to death," because this truck is getting peeled apart and the kids are hiding inside, and he's like signing to his deaf daughter like, "I love you." And it's just like this like really dramatic music, and you know what's gonna happen, and then I'm just like, and then he just screams, and the monster fucking, I imagine, smushes him to death and then dances in his blood.
Yeah.
But there could have been so many other things he did that involved getting the attention of the monster somewhere else. He could have started a tractor nearby and ran away. He could have grabbed a bucket, because he was near a barn. There was probably a bucket, and threw it at a metallic thing and make a loud metallic noise, and the monster would be like, "That sounds like a bucket. I better go investigate."
But gets out his magnifying glass, even though it has no vision.
A magnifying glass to its ear.
That should have been the poster.
Yep.
They see with their ears.
Follow your ears.
But
That silly dad and his silly need to commit suicide in the most extravagant way possible.
well, listen, it was pretty ridiculous. But here's what I think:
What?
maybe he was dared to do it.
That's possible. Someone might have said, "Truth or dare."
Yeah. Hey, you know what that reminds me of?
What?
Our next movie that we need to talk about.
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer?
Not yet, my friend. Truth or Dare.
Yep.
It's a movie where there's a curse that's been going around, and it spreads to a group of teenagers, and a demon appears in the form of someone you're talking to, and only you can see this demon version of the person you're talking to. Everyone else just sees the
Them.
normal person you're talking to.
Yep.
And the demon makes you pick Truth or Dare. So if you start playing the game, you're roped into it for life until you die, basically. And you do the dare, or you tell the truth, and if not, you die. And how do you die? Do you just have a heart attack? No, you just commit suicide in a ridiculous way.
Yep.
And I guess the demon's just sort of fucking around. Because, I mean, this is a silly way to spend his time.
Very.
With Truth or Dare.
He could be in a Ouija board or like possessing people or doing
Yeah.
any number of demon things.
Here's the thing, though. I don't think this is an inherently awful premise. Because I think that being forced to play Truth or Dare is interesting, because there are a lot of things that you do not want to do, and I think the dares are the meat of a story like this. Or you could be dared to saw off your leg or something like that.
Right.
Which, yeah, feels like the Saw movies, but I imagine it works if they've had a lot of Saw movies.
Yeah.
So I think that there's something to that.
I mean, what if it's set like by the same logic you could say, what if you're forced to play spin the bottle? Because it's a party game. They're both
Yeah, but that's not as
in
interesting.
the same vein.
It's just kissing people. With dares, the sky's the limit for horrible things that you don't want to do. The problem is this movie didn't explore very many interesting dares. Like,
No.
I dare you to walk on the roof when you're drunk. Oh no! And then the friends just follow her with the mattress and it's basically fine.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
I was hoping she'd get impaled on a pointy fence because it was like, oh, pointy fence. It's definitely going to happen. And I'm just like, you fuckers blue-balled me with your fake setup for a death.
Yep.
That pisses me off.
The only other, I mean, at the very, very end, it started getting interesting. Like, I've been dared to kill one of the main good guys. Oh no! But the only other dare I even remember is that one of the kids was dared to go up to his cop dad, take the gun, and make the cop dad beg for his life.
Yep.
And I loved it because the son was being very reasonable and going, Dad, I just need you to beg for your life. I'll explain everything later, okay? And you be the dad. Go ahead.
What did I do to deserve this?
I just need you to beg for your life. Just say, please give me my life, okay? I'll
I
explain.
love you, son. You can tell me anything.
Dad, goddammit, just beg for your life.
Is this because I didn't hug you enough as a child?
Dad, goddammit. And then he gets shot by another cop.
It was great.
Why didn't the dad, what is he doing? That's not even proper etiquette to having a gun. Why would you just, that's too brave.
Yep.
That's too, why is he trying to talk things out? Just beg for your life and then talk things out. But
Cops don't do that.
no,
really.
they don't. But it was just disappointing because you could have gotten a lot of mileage out of dares like this, and there really wasn't much at all.
No.
But the other thing is you have truths. Mm-hmm. And that seems like, that's way less interesting than dares. Right. But sometimes horror movies can explore emotional sides of things, and I feel like there's some real potential to just have people reveal things about themselves they're not comfortable with, and that in itself can be horrifying in a less visceral, visual way, but in a still affecting way. And I feel with the game of Truth or Dare, stupid as it sounds to make it a forced game you have to play in a horror premise, I think that you can get a lot of mileage out of the emotions of the truth and the just violence of the dares. But not even the truths were that interesting. At one point, one of the dares was not even, I dare you to have sex with this person that's dating someone else. Like, it wasn't even violent. And they enjoyed it mostly. So like,
and the guy felt guilty because he's like, I still love my girlfriend. And the girl's like, oh, jeepers.
One of the truths was literally, I dare you to tell everyone that this girl is being cheated on. And so she just shouts it.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is stupid.
And also a gay kid coming out to his seemingly homophobic dad, the cop.
And we had no evidence at all that he was homophobic.
Yeah. He seemed like a pretty caring cop dad.
Wasn't one of the dares to have a hand broken? And call me crazy, but the hand was broken. She went to the hospital. Wasn't it a cast the rest of the movie?
No.
So they just...
There may have been a bandage wrapped around it, but I didn't notice.
Oh, perfect. So no real consequences there. Thank goodness.
She's just like, you're going to think I'm crazy, but you have to hammer my hand.
Yeah. And, the characters, they weren't interesting enough.
No.
I mean, we could go into a long discussion about what makes characters interesting, but the actions they were doing didn't stand out very much. Their personalities didn't stand out very much. Their chemistry with each other wasn't particularly compelling. They were just a group of teens that got along.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much to it. They didn't do much with the truths or the dares, but what do you think was the thing that really worked about this movie, Nick?
I think the things that worked the best were the things that the creators probably did it on accident. They made it sincere, but it just ended up being really fucking funny.
I mean, what I'm thinking about is the dumb fucking face that the demon makes, which is basically a giant smile with squinted eyes and raised eyebrows.
Very poorly edited.
It's supposed to be this creepy face, but it's the face that when I see it, I'm thinking that this person is thinking, tee-hee, I did something a little naughty. Like, that's the kind of face it looks like. Like, I tied your shoes together.
Like, is the demon just a naughty little boy who causes mischief?
It's like if you smell around and go, did someone fart? And you look at someone. That's the face I imagine the person that farted would make. They'd be like...
But, like, stretched out even more to an unrealistic degree.
I know, but it was just funny. It was supposed to be scary, but it's not making me think, uh-oh, this demon means business. It's making me think, uh-oh, did this demon not flush the potty? Like,
demon!
Basically, it's just a demon. Like, it seems like this demon is just going around doing innocuous things, and it basically is. Like, I'm gonna make you tell everyone that your friend is being cheated on.
Leave it to demon!
It kind of makes sense now that I think about it, because everything is just as lame as the demon's face is saying that it is.
Yeah.
I dare you to eat your own booger.
Basically, it felt that way.
They should have rolled with it. They should have made the movie way more lame.
It was weird because the movie started with a girl who was previously playing the Truth or Dare game fleeing into Mexico, and she goes into a gas station, and then we see that someone's talking to her, but we don't see who it is and we don't hear it. But she's like, no, don't make me do this. And then she just grabs gasoline, pours it on a random lady in the gas station and sets her on fire. And then nothing that interesting happens for, like, any of the dares.
Yeah, that's true. Here, every time I saw that face, I laughed, just for the record. It was amazing.
I laughed, too. It was do you think the creators intended it to be funny?
I don't know. I feel like they failed either way, because the movie wasn't too funny and it wasn't too scary.
Yeah.
It was just sort of in the middle somewhere. Right. But my favorite face, by far, is one of the main characters' dads killed himself. Mm-hmm. And she has a video of the dad just at a barbecue, like, I'm making hot dogs, yippee. And then the demon manipulates the dad in the video, and the dad's making the face. And I'm like, the only thing we know about this dad is that he makes hot dogs and he has a tragic existence where he fucking blew his brains out or something.
Yeah.
And you're having him like, tee-hee-hee, I farted.
Dad!
Like, it's not a tee-hee moment. Like,
no. That's fucking weird.
It is.
Also, they have someone's corpse do that smile and be like, truth or dare. And it's just like, you can make a body move.
Yeah, that was a little odd.
It was also weird that the only way to break the curse was chopping a dude's tongue off and putting it in a little vase.
Yeah, there is lore or something that explained this demon.
You can't really call it lore.
I didn't care about any of it. Like, someone knocked over a pot and it made the demon go, rah! Like,
that was my pot!
And now he dares people to give wet willies.
What a terrible curse.
It's so dumb. I mean, at the very least, they were smart enough to have the demon pick what the dares are or what the truths are. And you might be thinking, well, why wouldn't they just pick truth, 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 truth? And they had a rule that said you can only do truth twice, and then the next person has to do a dare, which, whatever, I guess it made enough sense. But just imagine how dumb the movie would be if it was the teens that were forced to play this game that got to pick the dares and the truths. It'd be dumb on one level if they just picked easy dares, like I dare you to kiss that wall, and it'd just be a lame movie. But imagine if for some inexplicable reason they were picking these horrible dares. I dare you to run through traffic on the highway. Like,
I dare you to fuck your dad.
Like, why would you pick these dares? Like,
Billy!
Tee-hee-hee. Like, and they're making the face anyway, despite the fact there's like not a demon involved. But the movie did make me go, I suppose tee-hee-hee face really sums up the movie, where I thought, this is a little funny.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yep.
Basically, the face that embodies truth or dare is the face that I would make toward this movie.
Yep.
That's about it.
But do you want to talk about the ending at all?
Thank you. Nick, you take it away.
Oh my god, okay.
This needs to be talked about because it's so stupid.
Okay, so we've got our two heroines. They managed to narrowly escape death a number of times, and they're like, how are we gonna get rid of this curse? We just, like, because the dare goes between, like, if there's 5 people, it goes, like, in order of the way they went. So they're like, we need to bring more people into this game, or else it's gonna be between you and me until we die. So they're like, I've got an idea. I happen to have a YouTube channel that has quite the following. So they make a video where they're like, I'm sorry about this, the millions of people who are going to watch this viral video, but you're now all a part of our game. So, truth or dare?
Which, one, it's so stupid and selfish that they would just involve the whole world in order to save themselves. Like, that's awful. And says, so it just opens the box about this character. Like, what? Was she crazy the whole time? But 2, think about it. It's not going to work. Because it's not just saying truth or dare. You have to pick truth or dare, right? Like, you have to actually play it.
But there were characters who didn't pick either, and they killed themselves.
Well, in the beginning, the way that they got cursed is it was a casual game of truth or dare.
Yep.
I mean, like, truth or dare, and like, truth. I dare you to give me a blowjob. I fucked that up, but whatever. But basically, there wasn't a demon in the first round that was forcing them to pick it.
No.
It seems like they had to jump into it themselves. They basically had to consent to it. At least, that's heavily implied by the way the movie is written.
Right.
So, it honestly seems like that's not enough to just say in a video, truth or dare. I feel like they have to consent to it. And who is going to just say at their computer screen, dare? Like, truth! Like, and then what's going to happen? Like, she can't respond to any of them. It's a video. Unless she made it a live stream, which she didn't.
No.
So...
But
what an awful ending.
There was a really funny shot that was right at the end where it shows 2 strangers. It looks like 2 sisters or 2 friends that are watching the video, and they're like, oh my god. And then you hear her say truth or dare, and then one of them puts that stupid ass smile on and turns to her friend, and it just cuts to black, and it's just like, oh. All right, so I guess everyone watching the video gets that same stupid giant ass grin.
I don't know, I like to think the demon just did that. And it didn't have anything to do with anything. I'm just going to make this girl have a nice big smile.
Yep, just cheer up.
Before we wrap things up, I think that we should play our own version of Truth or Dare. You ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right, Truth or Dare?
Truth.
Okay. Are you going to cancel another one of our rehearsals for one of these movies?
I can't say that for sure or not.
Yeah, but, I mean, I think our rehearsals are really important, right?
They are.
And if you care about the band, you would say, yes, I'm not going to cancel another rehearsal.
Right. But you cancel rehearsals too. I
don't cancel rehearsals. I just have to move rehearsals. It's different.
That's canceling.
That's not canceling if we do it again another time.
I do things other times too. I say, let's do it this day. We both do the same thing.
Well, is this rehearsal that we just canceled going to be rescheduled?
Yeah, I already said for Thursday.
Yeah, but I work Thursday, and you know I work Thursdays.
Thursday night?
Yeah, Thursday night.
What about Thursday afternoon?
Well, what time in the afternoon? Because I have to go into work by 3.
Noon.
Noon?
Yeah, like 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
You usually work Thursday at noon.
They decided they didn't need me that day.
Okay, well, that's useful information. Why your work schedule keeps changing all the time?
I can't keep up with it either, and I'm the one who has to work it.
At least my work schedule is like it's mostly consistent. And there's only one time. There's just that one Sunday where something didn't work out. But I feel like you had at least two more things than I did with work getting in the way.
No, I think you're misremembering. There was also that one Monday, like a month ago, I think, where you were like, oh, something came up at work. They want me to stay overtime.
Okay, well, that wasn't fair because Gary was having something with his wife and I had to cover and do both jobs.
Well, Gary doesn't apply to our podcast or our band, so why is Gary even coming up?
Gary's coming up because that's the reason that I couldn't do the rehearsal that one time.
But don't you see, you're having just as much issues as I am. It's on me just as much as it's on you.
I feel like, currently the issue was you. You made the most recent issue.
But next time, it could just as easily be you causing the scheduling conflict.
But I think I have a more consistent schedule than you do. I think your schedule's all sloppy and messy, and I just don't like the job that you have. Your schedule's all over the place.
I don't like it either, but I'm constantly actively applying to other positions and other forms of employment, and I'm not having any luck.
Well, did you put the band on the resume?
Why would the band be relevant?
I keep telling you that it's relevant because that's what we are. Like, people are going to see that, and from the future, they're going to go, wow, that's crazy that I employed someone that was in this great band.
Do you think fucking Pablo Picasso applied to Kmart and was like, oh, by the way, I'm a famous artist. And Kmart's like, you're hired because you're an artist. No, he'd have to say, I'm great at piling up boxes and folding towels and working at a cash register. You say the practical skills that are relevant to you for that position.
I put that I was in Blinkity Bloop on my resume. And I think that's how I got a job that gave me more consistent hours.
Do you think your boss, cares that you're in a band?
Well, I tell my boss all the time that we're working on great music.
I don't believe that.
Yeah, every opportunity I get. One time my boss was talking about, he quoted this lyric. I was like, that's a great lyric. Actually, I also make music, and we write some lyrics, and it's great. Blinkity Bloop. Have you heard of us?
And what does he say?
Well, he says he's interested, but then he has to get back to doing stuff because it's a work day. But still, I bring it up.
But does he follow through, or is he just being nice to you?
I assume that he's following through because it's actually good music.
But he doesn't know that until he listens to it.
That's not even the point. The point is that we need to have rehearsals. And this is just a mess. This podcast, it worked out before the movies, but now it's not working. And it sucks because we're usually free in the early morning, but they don't have any movies that early.
No. You sound like you want to give up.
I don't want to give up. Should we just rehearse in the early morning?
I mean, people have done crazier things in the pursuit of a musical career. I think we could do that.
Well, it's just common knowledge that voices sound better in the afternoon and evening hours.
What if we go to sleep later or earlier in the evening so we get a good amount of sleep and then can wake up at 6 a.m.
It's not how it works, though. It's like a sun thing that your vocal cords are just
this
better.
Is rehearsal. It's not like we're doing a legitimate recording. It's okay if our voices are a bit rough or we're a bit lethargic.
I want them to be as great as they can be, so we should record during peak sun hours. But
that's not always practical, though. I think we should at least give it a shot. Because we're running into too many problems otherwise.
Yeah, but
Can we at least try it before you reject it outright?
Fine, yes, we can try it. I'm just worried that if we're going to be rehearsing when our voices aren't going to be as great as they could be. But, fine. We can try it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's your turn.
Oh, truth or dare?
Dare.
I dare you to
talk about our sponsor this week.
I was going to say kiss me, but I guess
I don't think you actually want to kiss from me.
No, I was joking.
Like how my boss doesn't actually want to listen to my music, apparently. I'm
just saying it's a possibility. He might want to listen, but he might also be forgetful. We don't know.
Whatever. This is Fissure Mist Media is what is bringing you this podcast. All your audio needs you can get from Fissure Mist Media. Podcasting, movies, lots of movie stuff. Mm-hmm. Come here for the movies. They specialize in that. They've mostly done music.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And anything audio, just come to Fissure Mist Media. They'll treat you right.
They sure will.
All right. Morning rehearsals.
Morning rehearsals. Get pumped. Early bird gets the worm.
Yeah.
Yeah.